Hello, my name is Michael Berger, and I have an associate's degree in mechanical engineering and a bachelor's degree in digital science. I have a certificate in AutoCAD and cybersecurity. I work as a student IT assistant at the University of Akron, a math tutor at Stark State College, SMT operator at Airborne Electronics, and as a student team leader at Kent State University in the Federated Desktop Support Department.
And my name is Gregory Hess. I have a bachelor's degree in digital sciences from Kent State University. I have a Test Out Security Pro certification, as well as numerous certifications through LinkedIn courses. I've held numerous IT positions in end user support across Kent State, Beechwood Systems, and Northeast Ohio, and in my local area, in local town of Northeast Ohio, as I reside. And I'm en route to a rotational in Brooklyn, Ohio, this coming summer. As of February of 2023, I reside at a business analyst position in my current company in a bank in the Ohio area. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Health Awareness Podcast. It is October 25th of 2023. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday and fall so far. And here today we got a returning guest here on the podcast here. As it is me, Gregory, with my friend Mike here, my co-host. And with our guest here today is again a returning guest. We got a Heather Elwell here, who's been a speech-language pathologist for over 24 years and is a certified health and wellness coach specializing in brain health, as well as the ability that she has in her spare time to coach people on lifestyle modifications that can help reduce the risk of dementia. And Heather's taken a good long look at all this material, as well as what we got here to discuss with you today, as well as with her research on the best lifestyle choices that can make the biggest impact on brain health, with her own company and Brain Health Mentors down in Tampa, Florida, to help back that as well. And you can follow her on Brain Health Mentors on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn for brain health tips based on the latest in brain health research, or at her website at brainhealthmentors.com.
So Greg, how are you doing this week?
It's been good, Mike. How about yourself?
I've been doing pretty good. How are you doing this week, Heather?
I'm doing well. You know what? I think when the weather is nice, that just makes everything seem better during the week, right?
I hear you. It's cool down here in Florida. I'm sure it's cooled down quite a bit for you up in the north, Greg. How's it going there?
It's actually kind of warm today. It's been like mid-60s. I'm in a long sleeve shirt, so I may have to change.
Oh my goodness.
As the day goes on here.
I've been low to be in the mid-60s.
But it's all about comfort, but sometimes there's the dangers of being too comfortable. As our first piece here goes into the dangers of sitting and how sitting can be considered the new smoking here on this piece that we found from betterhealthchannel.com or betterhealth.vic.gov.au. If you want to follow along here.
Yeah, I think Heather, you said you recently read a couple books that talked about the dangers of sitting.
Yeah.
Or is that related to the dangers of sitting?
There's two really good books I read recently. One was The Comfort Crisis, and the other one was Built to Move. And I just think these books, with our culture now where people are doing more virtually, I just think it's really important to be aware of how much we are sitting, because when we are in an office setting, we're usually moving around more, chatting with others. And when we're working from home, we just have to be very mindful that we are, or at any workplace, really, just that we're looking for opportunities where we can be standing and moving, and that kind of thing. There was in one of the books I recently read, they said if we are sitting less than if we're sitting less than 7 hours a day, that decrease our risk of death by 80%. And when we are moving more, I mean, it's so much better for our mental health and our physical health. So I just think we need to, in this new day and age, look for opportunities that we are moving during the day. Before we got on this podcast, I was talking about how if I have back-to-back meetings during the day, now what I try and do is have, maybe start off where I'm sitting, go for a walk before I start work. And then if I have my first meeting sitting, then do my next one standing and try and alternate. I have stairs in my home. So if I ever have the opportunity, fill up my water bottle between meetings, go down the stairs, fill up my water bottle, run back upstairs. Like that's a great opportunity just to get the blood flowing, because when we're sitting, we're also not taking in information really well. When we're moving, we're better able to take in information. Our memory is better. Our attention is better when we are taking the opportunity to move more frequently.
Indeed.
Excellent.
And that is backing with what we also mimic here on the health awareness podcast as well, because me and Mike both work desk jobs. Me at a corporate bank and Mike at an IT servicing building. So like the stability is there, and I've gotten to a point, where I have to I'm getting tired of just sitting at computers now. Because my work is sitting at a computer, and when I eat my dinner, we do it in front of another screen and then some. So I've embarked on shelving out near the end of summer to get a gym membership. So I actually activated a gym membership so that every other day at lunch, I do 30, 40 minutes at the gym, or after work I do 30 to 60 minutes at the gym, just to get that mobility going, because otherwise I'm sitting basically in this black leather chair behind me.
I think that is good, but one thing to keep in mind is, and all the research shows, you look at the blue zones research that recently had a release on Netflix. But you look at these cultures around the world where people are living very well and they're not crushing it at the gym, right? It's just walking throughout the day, taking the steps, things like that. So I think that is what the research is showing, is it's really important to look for those opportunities to move throughout the day, because I do that a lot of times too, where it's I'll work out in the morning, but then I'm sitting the rest of the day. So just trying to seek out, I used to, it's funny, on Sundays is I really try and have that day just be about rest. And, it's funny, I used to just do, I do a hard workout in the morning, and then I would just sit around the rest of the day. And I realized that wasn't good for me. When you sit for a while, I love to read, right? But I notice when I read, especially if I'm into the book and I'm reading for hours, my body starts to hurt after a while, right? I start to kind of ache a little bit, and in my legs and my butt, because it's just my just sitting in that same position. So even just doing housework, at an office, taking something to the a trash can that's down the hall, or I said, filling up your water bottle, just looking for if you need to take something to recycling, right? But in whatever way we can move or find these opportunities to move throughout the day, it serves us so well when we do that. It's there was another article I came across that talked about, it's funny, all the things you don't like I don't like cleaning my house. It's not something I enjoy, oh yay, I can't wait to clean my house, but it's interesting, it's activities like that that again, it's really good for our body, and then as a result, good for our brain health too. So it's funny, it's kind of shifted the way I've looked at things, these menial tasks, that we need to do in our life, in our workplace, to actually appreciate the fact that it gets you up and moving to do something.
I know exactly how you feel. I'm also an avid reader, and I usually do it before bed because like it prepares me to go to sleep. But I've noticed that like I'll like even after an hour of reading, I'll be like, I can't be sitting here reading. Um, I'm starting to get like cramped or whatever because the book's starting to get good, and I stay up later.
It's
So like,
true.
It's a balancing act with things like that because
it is.
I get a habit of getting too comfortable with a book or with a YouTube documentary I find,
Hmm.
and then I'll look at the clock and it's like, oh, it's 1 a.m. I have to be up in 6 hours. Oops. So it's like you kind of have to have a balance of things as well as a prep for things, which we'll get to later about preparation and other ways. But
I've definitely been
tips
there.
we
But
can suggest.
let's go in and talk about the ways we can, because I know some people can do more and more outside of the office to improve their movement. But let's talk about some of the things, especially one of the things I did some research on recently is standing desks and under desk treadmills and like walking meetings. So I feel like this is going to be a big sector just in the markets, and you're going to see more and more companies come out with things like this as people wise up to the importance of health. Like right now, we're post COVID, and people are still like doing their research on how to become healthier, and people are buying more supplies that they're signing up for gyms, they're buying healthier food, they're building their own home gyms. So I think
Hmm.
these are going to be more and more common than they used to be. So um and I think companies, especially bigger companies, are going to a lot of them have gyms or like places you can go to work out. I know one of my basketball coaches when I was a kid, he worked for Goodyear, and they had like a little like basketball hoop in their gym, and during lunch that's where everybody went to play basketball. So I think more and more companies are going to adapt these ideals
And
uh,
Hmm.
as we move forward.
it's about a lifestyle balance as with incentives with companies, which this isn't a work podcast, but I've seen more and more companies grow in the aspect of we need to keep people here. How
Hmm.
can we do that? What can we add to the facility? And some of it's like in more ways than one, wellness balances. Be it for mental health, have mental health day. World Mental Health Day has been talked about to be a national holiday, I've heard, or at least for the United States. I heard that as an idea, as well as physical health. Like I've seen people in my office in Brooklyn just walk around at lunch, just walk around the whole building a bunch. And at first I was like, oh, why are they doing that for? And I was like, oh no, they're getting activity. They're getting activity in.
Hmm.
So the most I can do is
Exercise.
ramble out about that and be in my
Well,
desk about it.
and people typically perform better at their jobs after they've been moving.
Yeah,
Right? So
it's
if they take a walk at lunch, chances are when they get back from lunch, they're going to perform at a higher rate than someone that didn't do that. So I think, same thing with basketball, like you mentioned at that company, like people that are playing basketball, think about the blood flow going, right?
Oh yeah,
Chances are
totally.
they're going to have fewer errors after a game, right? They're going to be sharper, at their job. So I think it's smart that these companies are realizing it actually serves the company so much better when they're doing these things for their employees.
exactly, and it's about awareness of things, but not awareness of a lot of other things. Though, as we move on to our next study here, as this is gonna sound odd at first to you listeners, but suppressing negative thoughts can sometimes be healthy. In the study I found on the U.S. news here, so even though I've like in my 24 years of life, I've gotten to know some like philosophy and ethics in my time at college. And suppression, I've always thought and was told to me as, oh, that's a bad thing. Don't suppress stuff. Let it out.
Don't suppress your feelings,
Don't
right?
suppress
That's
your
what they tell
feelings. Let it
you.
be known and like let your story be told. But it's like, I'm like contemplating like I'm still a bit like a pint skeptical about this, but this is from senior scientist with MRC Cognition and Brain Sciences Unit at Cambridge University in the UK. He even cites Freud as a pull for this, with all that's vested in neuroscience and psychology. In fact, that people can often do this kind of thing all the time with some success, with how suppression kind of conflicts with the growing body of knowledge that has grown over time with neuroscience and psychology. But all the signs point to this being something that actually helps us downregulate or reduce the memory of unpleasant thoughts.
Well, I think another way to look at it too is because suppression is like, I feel like there's a lot of question marks, when we say that. But I think the biggest thing is to not ruminate in negative thoughts. I think that's the biggest thing. And to catch yourself when it happens, because we know, like the research shows, that repetitive negative thinking absolutely increases your chances of cognitive decline and dementia. Like that, we know that, like that, the research has shown that. So I think it's really important that to be aware, as we've talked about this, and that's what this whole podcast is about, right? Is health awareness, is to be aware when these thoughts come in. I've heard it described like this, like think about it like a train going by. That's this negative thought, right? Do not jump on that train. See that train and let that train go by, but don't jump in that train that could be all these negative thoughts. So I think the biggest thing, again, putting to the name of the podcast, is the awareness and to recognize. It's very easy to happen, whether it's stress at work or, something you're going through personally. It is, or something that's happened to you in your past. Like it is very easy, or maybe someone that did something bad to you where you feel like you've been wronged in some way. Or even the news. The news is another thing, right?
Yeah,
it's very easy to see these thoughts. But again, go back to the research. Do not jump on this train of negative thinking. Like be aware and do all that you can to not be in that cycle, because it absolutely is impacting your brain health. So I think this is a great topic to talk about, especially, I'm going to give you an example. I've worked with clients that have a history of depression. And then when I ask them, like, what are you consuming during the day? Like, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you doing? And they'll proceed to tell me that they also watch the news for 3 hours a day.
Oh.
I don't recommend
that. Oh my gosh. No. I can't imagine.
That's three too many.
I don't recommend that. And I also recommend, like, if you are, there's a lot of news going on right now that, yes, it's important to stay informed, but I encourage you to seek out information that is not biased, and do not spend multiple hours watching the news. Check in, find out what's going on, think about maybe how you could help in some way if there's an organization you would like to contribute to, but to sit and ruminate in fear or negative thoughts, the research it shows over and over again that this doesn't serve us, and it's very, very harmful.
And it just sort of compounds on itself when you have the depression from outside stimuli, from the news, from something in your personal life. When all that comes in on yourself all at once, you gotta just.
And it also depends on.
Take over.
It also depends on where your sources are. Like I used to be a little doom scroller on TikTok, and it goes from one negative thing to the next. It can definitely compound on itself. You definitely have to be careful of that there, and I think you just want to focus on the helpful facts, and limit your access. Like you don't want to be sitting there doom scrolling for hours on end, because you're gonna fall down a doom scroll rabbit hole, and just try and like for the day to day, you got to just distract your mind from the negative thoughts, and focus on the positive. Sometimes we need that little boost.
Yeah, it's more of a glass half full mindset versus half empty mindset to sort of like
Absolutely. And
combat all
and
this, which
to
I
layer
know can be
and
hard.
weave this all together, right? When we're sitting and getting this is not good, right? One of the best things we can do if a negative thought comes into our mind is to go for a walk, right? Move, get up,
Yeah.
walk around. I think nature and walking is such a beautiful distraction from these negative thoughts that enter into our head.
Sunlight, like
Yes,
I've seen correlations with vitamin D intake, not specifically from the sun, but you can get a lot from the sun, and just the exposure to it is enough to make a positive correlation and a difference for just an individual and the many as well with that. So our sort of summary tips for this would just be to sort of watch what you're doing and get help if you have to. If you're struggling to do this by yourself, like see a brain health expert, you can see a therapist, you can see just kind of limit as well your time with the negative news, which I know in the tech news, some of it that we cover on our sister podcast here on this productions that we do, some of it is not great, and I don't like covering the negative tech news on that channel, but I try to keep it at a minimum to like one per recording, just so I can have the awareness about it, but not dwell on it, because ironically it'll like succumb on me. But and it's just all about finding the right balance of things, and just like we have here at the podcast, your awareness of this thing, because like I can go to the gym at Planet Fitness, and that gets the energy in my blood flowing and helps my struggling gut and my legs. But the second I get to the treadmill area, it's all TVs and it's all news on the TVs. I'm like, no.
I think it's also important to support the news stations that focus on the facts rather than pulling our heartstrings and trying to get us to invest in home security. Yeah, exactly. The fear mongering. We need to support news sites and stations and apps or whatever you guys use that aren't all about those fear mongering.
It's and then some, but to move along here to our third topic, and this goes into sort of a universal nature about memory and appetite. Now, what can you tell us, Heather, about this topic straight away?
Well, I think one of the best things we can do is to be fully aware when we are creating a meal. And what I mean by that is maybe don't have the TV on or be listening to music. I mean, you could listen to music if that's relaxing or calm to you, but to be fully present when you're preparing a meal, right? To be there where you're chopping, like being part of the smells and the creation of the meal makes the meal so much more satisfying. I listened to this brain health expert who is actually out of Israel, and she has taught me so much. But she talks about how everything we're doing nowadays, we're multitasking. And so I think it's really, I've really tried and taken her advice. And I didn't realize when I'm eating breakfast or lunch or dinner or whatever, like how I always have something else going on. Always. Like I'm checking my email or I'm listening to something or, I felt like until I heard this information, I was never fully present in the experience of preparing a meal and then eating a meal. So
it feels like you have to be. It feels like you have to nowadays just to keep up with everybody else. You get all this pressure,
Yeah, it's
to keep up with and like, the neighbors or whatever. Keep up with your coworkers.
I'm not as satisfied then, right? Like when I'm not fully part of the experience, and it really doesn't take, and that's the thing. We think we're accomplishing so much more when we're multitasking, but we're really not. So, it's just, I'll just tell you, it's advice she gave me and I've been really trying to do it lately where I am fully present when I am preparing a meal. I am not checking email. I'm not doing, and I don't have the TV on. am fully present when I'm preparing a meal, and then I literally am pushing my phone away when I'm eating the meal. And it's been delightful. And it doesn't take me hours to eat, right? Like it doesn't, what are we talking, like 15 minutes, maybe, to eat a meal. And it's just interesting, like how, I do feel more satisfied when I do that, as opposed to being on my, like, I'm not fully present in the experience of eating my food when I do have a bunch of distractions. So just a little tip someone gave to me that I thought I would share with you guys.
And it's like the moment you said that, I realized that I kind of do that too. Like I always have it was last Friday I had PTO, and I
Hmm.
was cooking alone also that day because my parents are out on a retirement party thing, and I'm at house cooking pork shoulder, okay, in the pot in the slow cooker, and for some reason I'm like, I gotta put the TV on. While I'm doing this is like, why do I need to put the TV on for something that takes a minute? Just
Hmm.
put meat in the thing and then turn it on. And yet I was like, I gotta have something on though. It's like, why
That's
do I
so
have to have
true. Like
something
we're
on?
programmed that we
And
have to be doing something else at the
it,
same time.
it's like a conditioning. Like
Yes.
it's like I don't want to say partially it's like reinforced, like when you're growing up and you watch like everyone eat around the table and there's a TV in front of them, or
Hmm.
it's like mimicry of some
Right.
sort. That's probably not the right word, but it's like it's something along those lines where it's like, oh, I want to be like that. Oh, let's do that, and it's just it kind of compound. It sort of
Or you hear about
keeps
someone
it,
else doing it,
or
and you're
or
like,
you
hey,
hear
oh,
it
let's
from word
try
of
it,
mouth.
yeah, and then it just becomes a staple. Because I
It
know
comes like
growing up, my family, there's no TV on during dinner. It was a rule. My mom said no TV on during dinner. We're gonna talk about the day. But as we all got older and we all went off to do our own things, we all went off to college or whatever. It became less and less important because we were all eating at different times, or we had to study for a test or something. So we'd eat our meal while we were studying because we had to
Yeah,
do more and more things. There was more and more responsibilities, so it became
it's
more common.
it's like a conflict of schedules, which can happen to a lot of families, which makes
Absolutely.
me like it's like in like every in the status of like one house where it's just like how that can happen. Like Mike, much like Mike's family, my family used to have a no TV policy during dinner, and then it was while we were going through grade school, they added a kitchen to the they added a kitchen, they added a TV to the kitchen, and it was like we had to keep looking at the TV because my dad is a history buff, so want to have like a little bit of the news on, but my mom likes game shows, so she'll have game shows on another room. And then over time, it just turned into
It was the norm.
everyone wanting something else.
I agree.
And it was
And it
just like,
happens I feel like when my kids were younger, it was much easier for us to all eat together, or at least the kids and myself, because they would get hungry at, like, 5 p.m. or something. But, it's now I have two high schoolers, and it is really hard because, like, tonight, for example, I'm doing this. My girls are, at a practice for a theater production. A lot of times my older daughter is working. So it is like we're at that stage where we're kind of like ships passing in the night. But I try, whenever I see a possibility that we can have dinner together, I try and really carve out that time, because when you have older kids, it's very, very hard to capture that time together. So it's all about, like, just grabbing the time when you can find it, because they're just so busy right now. And it's great. Like, I love that they have these full lives and are so engaged. I think it's wonderful. But that, it's harder to have a family dinner. We used to have family dinner every single night, and that's just not possible now. So I try and, even if two of us can eat dinner together, it's a win. So it's, one
yeah,
of those things I'm trying to constantly do.
it's all about the engagement factor because
Hmm.
it's sort of, I want to say it compounds itself. I don't know why I keep saying that. It goes back to the sort of conditioning of like being so comfortable when everyone just sits down. Where I've seen a growth of companies and food services like your Postmates or Uber Eats, where it's just I'm gonna just sit here and wait for the food, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like I did DoorDash twice in college, and both times I was just like, I didn't have to do this,
Right.
but
You
like
could have walked
I
and
had a
got
meal
it.
plan and everything, but I was like, no DoorDash, and it was just I waited like, and when you look at it like in current day lenses, it's like I waited twice the amount of time. I got colder food, and a stranger gave it to me out of a window,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no engagement there, versus me going to even a dorm hall meal area where I talk to people potentially
Yes.
just to have that even little engagement of that. And this is going from
Absolutely.
someone who used to hate talking during school. I was the quiet kid for like 12
Well,
years.
connection is so important. There's this gentleman where I live, and I live close to like this little shopping area with restaurants and that kind of thing. And it's really neat. Every time I go to this little area, I go early in the morning. There's this gentleman that I can tell has had a stroke. And so it takes him a while to walk from point A to point B. But it's this ritual. He does it every day where he walks into this cute little community center and he goes to his favorite coffee shop. And I don't know what he orders, but probably like a coffee and a croissant or something like that. But this is someone that, again, could be sitting at home and feeling sorry for himself. And, instead, he walks to this area. He smiles at everyone he can along the way, says hello to lots of people. So he has all these, touch points of connection. I am sure that this little coffee shop knows him, right? So he can, have
Yeah.
so what a richer life he has because he's in community every single day. Like, I love
And
it. Like, I have to tell you, every time I see him, it brings me so much joy. It brings me so much joy to see him. So I just think whenever we can find these opportunities to be in community, to have conversations with others, like not only is it a blessing for ourselves, right? It's a blessing for this gentleman, but it's also a blessing for other people because like I said, every time I see him, it puts a smile on my face. So I think that's a good way to look at it is like when we're in community, we're a gift to others, whether it's just recognizing someone or saying hello to someone or offering a compliment. I think when we're staying at home and we're sitting and we're not moving, like we're not serving ourselves and we're not serving others. Where when we get up, even just a simple walk around the neighborhood, like we are not only are we helping ourselves, but we're helping others by saying hi or petting a dog or all the things like that brings joy to other people.
yeah, and it's about that sort of like many win scenario. Like you're winning because you're getting activity, you're winning because you're getting engagement, you're winning. They're winning because they're getting engagement themselves and engaging with you, and then some with things alongside the matter with like being having everything in your bodily functions going as well to just going back to that in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So and just having that all around balance is what we are aiming for here always at the Health Awareness Podcast. Mike, do you have any more thoughts?
No, I think you guys hit them all. Just to sum it up, focus on meal prep. Be mindful when you're eating. What I like to do is in my house we do a lot of our meal prep on the weekends so that we can just grab and go during the week when we either freeze it or put it in like Tupperware. Well, we don't use Tupperware when we use glassware or whatever. So that it's all prepped and ready to go. So our portion size is all pre-calculated. And I just wanted to add, always be aware of what you're eating. Things like potato chips, not so good because those will want you to make you like the idea behind the potato chip is it's so good that your body keeps wanting more and more of it. It's made to be like that. So I recommend making homemade kale chips. They're absolutely delicious. I think you just use a little bit of olive oil and sea salt, and you can just bake the kale chips right in your oven. I definitely recommend you guys give that a try. They're absolutely delicious.
And just like it's all about wellness with that as well. It's not only will you feel better, but you also save in the long run as well with how
Absolutely.
those are going as well. But as we are running on time here, thank you, Heather, for being with us on the podcast today, this evening. We
Thanks for
appreciate always
inviting
your
me.
time and your
Yeah,
your intake
We're
on this
happy to
stuff
have you.
Aw.
with
Well,
a
I
real expert.
appreciate the invite, and it was a great discussion.
Yeah, no, we'd like to thank you all listeners as well for joining us today. Feel free to give us a like, a comment, a share, and feel free to check out our Patreon or comment and ask us about the Patreon, and we'll feel free, either me or Mike will direct you to it as well.
Then
And
we'll
remember-
have links in the comments section or wherever you're listening to the content, whether it be YouTube or Buzzsprout or SoundCloud or I think there was there one more place we hosted, Greg, or is that all of them?
it's YouTube, Buzzsprout, and SoundCloud.
Perfect. So we'll have links for you guys for the articles and a link to our Patreon.
And then some. And remember, everyone, health is wealth.
Health is wealth.